According to a 2008 report on pedestrian accidents, 13 pedestrians are killed every day, with 80% being killed outside of crosswalks and the majority being due to either improper crossing or walking against traffic. Some have suggested that this problem is even greater on the nation's college campuses. Pedestrian safety at IU certainly seems to be becoming a growing problem. Scenes like these, with people crossing without a signal or outside crosswalks, are daily occurrences. And in this last case of a man crossing in front of traffic that has a green light can be very dangerous. While most students make it across the street without any problems, tragedies have happened, and they are something we all want to prevent from happening again. Given the potentially negative consequences evident in just the past few years, why do students still insist on breaking rules in place for their safety? Are students too inconvenienced by the placement and timing of crosswalks? Do students have too many distractions, such as cell phones, that they pay far more attention to? Or is it because there is a lack of enforcement around traffic rules, and thus no consequences for breaking them? These are just a few of the assumptions that we have explored, but we do feel that there is a need to further understand the underlying issues, to understand why exactly students don't feel the need to follow the rules. This can be done through the collection of surveys distributed to various groups of students, involving RAs to lead discussions with their dormitory floors, and even use time during orientation to discover the attitudes around pedestrian safety that students come to IU already holding. You have already created a guiding coalition, the Traffic Safety Task Force, which, in bringing together several important stakeholders, including student representatives, is a very important factor in changing the current pedestrian culture on campus. Another important factor in affecting this change will be to develop and communicate a vision around the goals of the task force. We have developed the following statement: for IU to become the model campus for pedestrian safety, where efforts to reduce risks are embraced by drivers and pedestrians alike in order to improve the quality of life for students and faculty. The task force should now focus on motivating students to action through creating a sense of urgency around this issue. This can be done through news articles in the IDS and Herald Times, providing a perspective of past accidents to keep the issue at the top of mind for pedestrians. We also suggest creating a Twitter and/or Facebook account for the Safety Task Force that will highlight close calls of would-be accidents occurring on campus and pedestrian accidents occurring across the U.S., especially in other college campuses, as well as ongoing activities, plans, and accomplishments of the task force. Communication should be ongoing, not only online as mentioned before, but also through local newspapers and information posted around campus. In order to really push this information and its importance, the task force should work with various student organizations to keep the student population constantly informed. We recommend introducing a Get Street Smart program in order to create a consistent message that can be used for many years. The program will begin with incoming students during orientation, during which orientation leaders will seek to dispel myths about traffic safety. For example, many pedestrians and bicyclists believe that they always have the right of way, but that is not the case. If a pedestrian is not at a designated crosswalk or intersection, they must yield to the driver. The next component of the Get Street Smart program will occur during the first week of classes in the fall. Student volunteers will be placed around high traffic areas on campus, wearing t-shirts emblazoned with the motto and handing out informational flyers. An ongoing aspect of the program will need to involve enforcement of traffic rules. Randomly throughout the school year, IUPD officers will be placed around campus and will issue tickets to any found breaking pedestrian laws. Get Street Smart will be comprised of 3 basic messages to pedestrians, bicyclists, and drivers. These are to be aware, no distractions such as cell phones, and know when you're entering a crosswalk area. Be safe. Do not make assumptions that drivers can or will stop, and do not overtake vehicles stopped at crosswalks. Finally, be considerate. Always make eye contact before crossing a street or allowing a pedestrian to cross. While campus-wide changes around safety will likely be adopted if the coalition follows the steps that we have outlined, we see the biggest potential for resistance among students. However, we believe that by involving student organizations, the task force can find champions that will help alleviate some of this resistance. In addition, new rules will penalize those not on board with the change, which will provide an additional deterrent against resistance. We know that change is extremely difficult to implement. Particularly in this case, we see the most important element as creating a sense of urgency around this issue. If the task force devotes sufficient time and resources to that, we believe change in IU's campus around traffic safety will be adopted. We would like to thank you for your time and hope that the suggestions we have made will help to curb the problem of pedestrian safety here at Indiana University.